Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Patrick Allmond. I run a digital marketing agency and a self-improvement brand right here on my shirt. Hopefully you're seeing it going the right direction, called Stop Doing Nothing. The fan page is Stop Doing Nothing, which I'm broadcasting live from. The website is stopdoingnothing.com. If you could share this or tag a friend who needs to know about branding. When I thought about this topic, I got really excited because I see a lot of discussions on this. And I've made a lot of mistakes on this. And sometimes the topic I'm the most excited to talk about are the ones where I've really screwed up and learned a lot of lessons from people that are a lot smarter than me. So that really is our topic today, about branding going into 2020. What is a brand? What I thought a brand was, and what I've learned from other people, what a brand really is, and how you can build your brand, and what a brand isn't. Oftentimes, especially if you saw the show from yesterday, building a thing, building yourself as a person, or building a brand, or building a company, or building a message, oftentimes is defining more of what you are not than what you are. Today we're going to be talking about basically how to build a kick-ass brand in 2020. And this question came to mind because I'm in some e-commerce groups and some other marketing groups. And in some of the e-commerce groups, and by the way, a shout out to those of you who are in the Printful group, printful.com. That's where I actually get my shirts made. A question came up in there I see over and over and over again, and it's often, how do I sell more? How do I build a brand? And this applies not to just e-commerce and building shirts and hats and things like that. This applies to those of you that run a digital marketing agency, those of you that run a PR firm, those of you that sell trucks, those of you that sell roofing materials, those of you that sell video production services, those of you that sell cars. All of us are building a brand whether or not we want to. When you're running a business, you're building a brand. It just happens by default. Okay, my first kind of three things I want to talk about is, why is this important? Okay, building a brand to me has always been, not always, once I learned what I was doing, has been important because it helps you find your people. And that's really important, because when you first go into business for yourself, whether it's an e-commerce or any other kind of business, what you make the mistake of doing is you believe that everybody is a prospect and everybody is a client. Sometimes, oftentimes I talk to entrepreneurs who are just starting up their business, and they're like, and people say, well, what do you do and who do you sell to? It's like, oh, I make baseball caps and I sell to everybody, or we do websites and we do websites for everybody, or we make, Datsun, goodness gracious, that shows my age right there. We make Toyota rear car axles, and we make these for everybody in the world. There's a good example right there, and that was I totally accidentally backed into it. Those Toyota rear car axles are only for Toyota owners that need rear car axles. And so when you're building a brand, part of what you're doing is basically kind of defining who your people are. And that is not going to be the majority of the people in the world. We've got billions of people on this planet. And your prospects, the people you want to sell to, is a very small segment of that people. Because not everybody is going to have the financial capacity to buy what you're selling. Not everybody is going to have the need or the desire or want, and not everybody is going to like you. And that's something that's a little bit challenging to our egos, if you will. And let me know if you've ever had this problem before. When someone says they don't like you, or when someone says they don't want to buy from you, it can hurt your ego a little bit. That can be damaging. But you also have to kind of change your mindset when someone says that, and realize that, out of the 100% of the people in the world, 80% of the people probably are not your people. I don't know what the percentage is. I base a lot of what I do off of the law of 80-20. And I just believe that 20% of the people in the world are going to be people that are going to be very happy with what you do. And 80% of the people aren't going to care, or they're just not going to like you. So building a brand is very important. Now, on the flip side, I like to also say that helping you filter out the people that aren't your people also. That's really important. I like to say that in the world of business, we find our people, we find our tribe. And that's what we're doing in all this branding and marketing thing. Once you start finding your people, the branding, the consistency of the things you do and how you speak, it builds trust. That's another big important thing, because if you can build trust in business, online trust, offline trust, elevator ride trust, consulting trust, if you can build that trust, you can sell anybody just about anything. That's the biggest challenge, in my opinion, when it comes to business, or one of the biggest challenges. It's not getting in front of people. It's not the clicks. It's not building a website. All that stuff is easy. We've figured out that stuff. To me, the hard stuff is the trust building. And once you get over that trust building, I mean, everything else gets easy. Obviously, people have to have a budget to what you're buying, but once you get over that trust building, you can sell anybody just about anything. And the trust building basically means that you stand for a certain thing and you will do what you said you are going to do. That's really what trust is, that you are an ethical, moral person, and that you're, like I said, you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And so in everything you do, you're always working on building the trust, because the trust is going to reflect back in your brand. I'm sure there are brands out there that you don't trust. There are brands out there that you absolutely hate, and there are brands out there that you have absolutely swore to never buy from. We all have them out there. So for some of you, it's Chick-fil-A. For some of you, it's Kmart or Walmart. I'm not even sure Kmart's around anymore. Some of you will swear never to go to Target again, or never go to Starbucks because they do certain things. Or, McDonald's or Burger King. I mean, pick one. We all have brands that we love, and we all have brands that we hate. And the ones that we hate, they're never going to get us back as clients unless they do something. But, part of your job is to get some good branding out there, is to be polarizing also. And the polarizing really helps you filter out the people that are your people and that are not your people. So branding isn't, let me see here. Where am I right now? Why is this important? Okay, I'm still covering that right there. The trust, by the way, also gets you more referrals. I wanted to basically talk about trust a little bit more. It gets you more referrals, and referrals are free marketing. You know what's really cool? We do some Facebook advertising, and every now and then we get people who will comment and share our Facebook ads. And that's free marketing for us. That means we paid to show someone that Facebook ad, and they shared it with a friend for free. And that's what trust can get you. Trust can get you referrals like that. When someone's saying, oh, I want to buy a t-shirt, or I want to buy a microphone, or I want to get some work done on my house. If you've built a good brand, then people are going to refer you automatically. And referrals are the best kind of marketing. Man, free referrals, money in the bank, and very easy to close there. Trust, I also wrote down here that one of the important things of trust is it helps you expand your product line easier. For those of you that are starting up, or maybe in the first couple of years in your business, you may have one or two really solid products that you offer somebody. And that is great, but at some point in time, I'm going to tell you, you're probably going to want to expand your product line, maybe either width-wise or depth-wise, if that makes sense. Depth-wise, I'm talking about offering more at a higher price level. Maybe width-wise, you offer more products, if you will. So at some point in time, you're going to want to offer a higher price level product, or more products. And to do that, you're going to have the trust. If someone is willing to spend $200 with you and they absolutely adore you, they absolutely trust you, then when it comes time for you to sell them the $3,000, the $4,000, the $1,000 thing, you have a much better chance of doing it after you've built the trust. And of course, building that trust is part of your brand. Oftentimes, I see brands go out there and they will poll their audience. And it's, how much do you trust us on a scale of 1 to 10 or a scale of 1 to 5? And that high level of trust is something you can use in your marketing also. If people trust you, other people will implicitly trust you, and it becomes much, much easier to expand and build that brand. And also here, and we've definitely seen this, is people will pay a lot more for a trusted brand. We don't have to talk, too much about the Gucci's of the world, and the Levi's of the world, and the other brands out there that really get high dollar for their, for their logos and for things on that. People trust them, and those brands take advantage of that, and they do very well in the market. So again, as a quick recap, why is this important here? It helps you build the trust. It helps you find your people. It helps you find the people that are not your people. It sells more. It helps you get more referrals. It helps you expand your product line, and people will pay a lot more for a trusted brand. So that right there to me covers why this is an important topic. And here we are. And so if you're someone who's going to start a company in 2020, or you don't feel you did enough in 2019 to expand and grow your business, you have to get started on this stuff right now. And again, branding is a lot more than colors and logos and things like that. Branding is a mere presence out there. And by the way, if you're watching live on the Facebook Live or on YouTube, do me a favor and chime in with where you're listening from. I know we got some people in here from Kansas also, Jada. Again, I really do appreciate you. I'll have to look up later and see where Bronson, Kansas is. So that was the first thing I want to cover is why is this important? Now, 2, what is a brand? Every time you talk to someone out there, they're going to give you a different definition of expanding in 2020. Very cool, Jada. By the way, tell me what you sell. I would love to talk about that too. If it's a retail product, if it's consulting, if it's car axles, I don't care. Let's talk about that. Whenever you ask somebody what is a brand, you get different definitions. So remember, everything that I talk about here is the Patrick definition of branding. There are probably people out there that are much better at this and much worse than I am, but this is what Patrick thinks is a brand. And again, I had to learn all this stuff the hard way. To me, a brand is, it's almost everything you think of when you say a name. It's how you present yourself. It's your colors, it's your look. I mean, look at me right now. I'm representing my brand, and this is not an egotistical discussion. But I have decided that, everything about Patrick needs to be what you see right here. Black shirts, white lettering, logo here behind me. When I go out in public, it's the way I talk. I tend to basically dress very casual, even in business environments. It's what I stand for. It's the people that I like. It's the language I use. I mean, if you don't like curse words, and you sure as hell aren't ever going to like me. Because you know what? I drop in a curse word every now and then because that is just what Patrick is. And so that turns off some people. And I've been told by other professional speakers and other professionals out there that, oh, Patrick, you can't say that. You can't do that. You're going to turn off people. Yeah, I sure as hell am. I sure as hell am going to turn off people, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Because my goal is with my brand, is not to tiptoe around and please everybody. My goal is to kind of come in like a wrecking ball and please that 20% of people. And you know what? Cursing, an occasional curse word, is just part of my nomenclature. I'm okay with that. It helps me emphasize certain things. But if that turns off people, then I'm sorry. I am not your brand and you are not my people. And I'm okay with that. Be okay with burning some bridges. Be okay with being 100% yourself if it's going to help you, if it's going to lose some people. Because on the flip side, it's going to help you find the right people. And the people you lose aren't going to be your friends anymore. They just aren't going to like your brand. So what else is a brand? Like I said, it's how you speak. It's how you look. So if you're someone who is basically a solopreneur or a small business, you've got to remember that every time you go out in public, how you look is your brand. How you present yourself is your brand. I don't do it intentionally, but I happen to work out a lot because I want to make sure that people know the Stop Doing Nothing brand represents, taking care of yourself and being in shape. Because I believe building your ideal life to do that, and one of the things has to be is you have to be in shape. And so I get comments on, wow, Patrick, you know what, you look really good when you go out in public with some of the stuff you wear. And so I like to represent the health associated with Stop Doing Nothing. That's fitness. I want people to see that when they think Stop Doing Nothing. So all of that is the branding right there. I also wrote down, it's happening also whether or not you know it. And this is something that took me a long time to learn is everything that you do from the moment you're in public or when you're online or when you're on stage speaking or on your e-commerce website, all of that stuff is branding. Is your website fast? Is it easy to buy things from you? Is it appealing? Is it appealing to the target audience that you want? Is it expressing the message you want to get out there? And that's something else that I don't think people pay a lot of attention to, especially in the e-commerce world. And Jada, you let me know how you feel about this. But I oftentimes feel that people that go into business are so focused on selling the thing that they don't really pay attention to either the problem they're trying to solve or the pleasure they are trying to bring someone. They just know they want to sell something. I want to sell. I don't care. I want to sell shirts. I want to sell hats. I want to sell axles. I want to sell consulting. I'll sell to anybody. I absolutely don't care. But good branding means taking a step back and realizing, oh, this is my place in the world, and these are the people whose face I want to put a smile on. I'm sure that was some bad grammar right there. And these are the people I want to serve. And so take some time if you are building your brand and figure that out. Figure that out. How do you want to look? How do you want people to think about when they see you? How do you want people to think about when they see you, on TV or in your car or out in public? or on a shelf on a retail store. Think about all those things and how you want to represent yourself. All of that is your brand. And remember, it even comes down to personally how you look and how your staff looks, because those people represent your brand all of the time. I'm trying to make sure now, more often than not, when I go out in public, sorry, I'm having some nose itches this morning, that, like I said, I present myself and everything about me and my laptop and my backpack and my car and all those things. I'm trying to make sure those represent what Patrick is. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm not on or off. I mean, there's 100% Patrick 100% of the time. I'm not on or off. It's you get what you get. Jada down here says she sells retail apparel and accessories in the Western cowgirl niche. So you know what? That is a very good definition right there. And I'm kind of curious, Jada, and I love your feedback on this, is is it only cowgirls you're appealing to, or it's cowgirls that have a certain message? Like, are you more of the, like, any kind of cowgirl brand, or are you more of like the feisty, outstanding, wild, I am a woman, hear me roar cowboy brand? I'm just kind of cowgirl brand, excuse me right there. I want to make sure I get that right. I'm just kind of curious about that while you're up there in Kansas. And while you're answering that, I'm also kind of curious if you have any overarching message, or is the retail brand the main message? Oftentimes people that get into e-commerce, the main message is I sell hats and shoes and shirts, and that's it. I don't have a message, I don't have a theme, but that's what I sell right there. Over at Focus Digital Marketing and Stop Doing Nothing, I have an overall theme that I like to work on. Okay, so my brand is the Salty Cowgirl, which is total sass and attitude. Love it. I love sass and attitude because so many people out there are afraid to express that. And by the way, congratulations on choosing that particular route. I like the fact that you're probably going to be more willing than other people to be very bold in what you say and bold in what you do. Not vulgar, maybe just a little bit more aggressive, if you will. And those are the brands that really appeal to me, are the brands that are really aggressive for a couple of reasons. But one of the main ones is, in this world, there are a lot of people that mute themselves. They're afraid to say what's on their minds. And I seek out those people, and I try to make sure I speak for those people. I think Dr. Seuss, in one of his books, said, I speak for the trees. That's me. I speak for the quiet people. What else did you say here? The theme is strong women doing what they like and what they want to. Hell yes, girl. That's what I'm talking about right there. So keep doing you. But she's built a strong brand. And on top of that, I'm sure she's got a color scheme, and she's probably got a certain logo out there that she works with. And again, you have to choose that. You have to put a stake in the ground. You have to choose your path very well. And it's scary. And I'll tell you that right now. If you're someone who's starting up in business, and people like me keep telling you, oh, you got to choose a brand, you got to choose a brand, you got to choose a brand. It can be scary. It can be scary putting a stake in the ground and making a choice. Putting that stake in the ground and deciding your path is scary because, one, you're going to be a little bit afraid about isolating your friends and family. That is a legitimate fear. And you are perfectly welcome to have that one. I have it too. You know what? I somehow managed to get by it. Probably with lots of coffee and wine is how I get by it. Another reason it's fearful is that you're eliminating other options. If you choose a particular path in life or a particular path in business, one of the things you have to be willing to do is shut down all other options. And that is a little scary. If she's building if Jada right here is building a brand based on really strong women and strong cowgirls, that means she's shutting off, for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, she's choosing to shut out people who are a little bit more meek, maybe, and definitely the male demographic. And the male demographic is a huge demographic with a huge pocketbook. But that's not who she's trying to appeal to. And you have to be acceptable with that. You have to be accepting of that, if you will, excuse me. You have to be willing to just shut down part of the market because you want to focus on the other part of the market, because those are the people who have the fear. And those are the people whose money you want, and those are the people whose lives you want to improve. So that's a huge risk, and that's not even in my notes here, but it's a huge risk to shut down a part of the billion, trillion, quadrillion market out there in the interest of focusing on that small niche right there. Again, I always like to refer back to a book called 80-20 in Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. It comes from the Pareto principle of 80-20. And if you're always looking for a good business book to read, I cannot recommend that one enough. 80-20 in Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. Changed my whole perspective on who I want to market to and the risk I'm willing to take there. I talked about this. So how to start. That's probably the last part of this broadcast here that I really want to focus on is how do you start building a brand more? Like I said, by default, you were always building a brand. From the moment you went into business and you bought a domain and you bought your LLC, your corporation, you were building a brand. Goodness gracious, how can you not love that coffee cup right there? That was given to me by my daughter a couple of years ago. Absolutely adore that cup. How to start defining your brand. Take some time, push yourself away from the computer. And I love my iPad right here with the Apple Pen right here. Take some time and push yourself away, possibly go out for coffee and define who you and your company are and your employees are and who you are not. And again, this kind of gets back to the things I was talking about earlier, is what is a brand? Be willing to just sit there with a pencil and paper and define who you want to serve, who you are, and really look at the core of yourself and the core of your being. And I'm getting kind of psychological here, but really look deep inside yourself and decide this is who I am. This is me. Kara Seattle, right out of The Greatest Showman, which I absolutely love that show. This is me. That may even be the heading on your paper. Write down, this is me, and start writing down the things that you believe in, and the things that you hate, and the things that you're not. A good friend of mine, Chris Kowalik, at a ProFeds, and hopefully, Chris, you're okay with me saying this on camera, she said a while back, no assholes. That's one of her definitions for customers, just no assholes. And I absolutely love her for saying that because it's a pretty simple definition. And all of a sudden, you can get all meta all of a sudden and say, what's an asshole? We all know what an asshole is. We all have our definition of asshole customers. Be willing to say, I don't want any assholes. Be like Chris in your business. Also, make sure you take some time and define the pleasure that you want to bring in someone's life or the pain you want to solve. I got this one from Tony Robbins. I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. And he said that basically everyone in the world, when it comes to self-improvement or buying things, people buy things to avoid pain or to seek out pleasure. So I kind of use that mindset now when helping people brand or when giving people consulting advice in business is how does this brand bring someone pleasure? How does it put a smile on their face? Or how does it avoid pain? Things like in the medical profession, those are things that help people avoid pain. Why do you go to a dentist? Because you don't want your teeth pulled out later. Why do you go to a doctor when something hurts? Because you want to avoid pain. And you will pay any cost to avoid that pain. Why do you go to Cane's Chicken? You go to Cane's Chicken because that shit tastes good. You go to Chick-fil-A because it tastes good. Some of you go to McDonald's because it tastes good. I'd be lying if I didn't have an Egg McMuffin every now and then. I exercise a lot, and I exercise now because I want to avoid pain later. Actually helps me avoid pain now, but I want to avoid the pain of getting into my 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and falling apart. I don't want to be one of those people that sits in a wheelchair in my 80s or 90s and just kind of rots away waiting for my time in the ground. I want to be up and active until the day I die. If I'm lucky, I'll be doing some kind of athletic competition the day I die. That's how I want to go out. I want to go out big in this world. So when you're working on this Who Am I document or This Is Me document, define what pleasure you're going to bring to the world and or what pain you're going to help people remove out of the world. Be willing to lose some people. And this isn't something you can really write down, but this is something in the process of branding I want you to realize is don't not write something down because you're afraid you're going to lose people. It's okay to lose people. It's okay to lose a family member because you may choose to push aside a family belief, be it religious or ethical or moral, that you've had all of your life or that you've been brought up and that you've been raised by. That's okay. It can be really a challenge. Imagine this. Imagine you're out there working on building your brand. You're at Starbucks, taking notes, and you have a belief. You have a belief on a certain way and a certain thing of doing things. And that belief goes 100% against what your mother believes. Would you be willing to do that? I'd be curious about your answer right here below. If you're on iTunes listening, comment later in the show. Would you do that? Would you be willing to do something that your father or mother didn't believe in, but you know was at the core of your being? The easy ones, like I said, come to mind are religious things, ethical things, moral things. Obviously, I want you to stay ethical and moral, but I also want you to be true to yourself. And so, if you were raised, I don't know, just pick something. We all have those things out there that we were raised with certain things on, but we want that, our parents raised us by, but we may not believe that at our core. And that core thing that we were raised with goes against the brand we want to build. Be willing to throw that out the window. Be willing to burn your bridges. I love that phrase. Be willing to burn your bridges. When it comes to building your business and putting yourself out there in the world, be willing to burn your bridges. It's okay. It's okay. Trust me. A virtual fist bump to you. Bam, bam, right there. It's okay to burn your bridges, okay? And afterwards, after you've gotten some of this list done right here, everything you do needs to be built around that. Basically, define who you are not, define the pleasure or pain, be willing to risk people, and then just start building stuff around it. I often like to say that people that do kind of rock sculpting or granite sculpting, they basically define in their head what this is going to look like, what this statue is going to look like, what the head, the face, the torso, the bosom, the legs, everything's going to look like, and you chip away everything that's not part of that. So then, once you've defined this list of things of who you are, you basically go back and you just throw away everything else. This is not me. Once you can do that, you're going to have a kick-ass brand. And in my opinion, a lot of the challenges with people out there building brands is that they don't want to do that. They will not burn the bridges. Be willing to burn your bridges. It's so hard, but I swear it is so, so worth it. Okay, so again, we've kind of covered today why is brand building important, what is a brand by Patrick's standards, and how you can start building your brand. And we know what we've talked here for 29 minutes and 48 seconds. I could probably talk about this for 3 or 4 hours because I really do love this topic. And again, I love this topic so much because I've screwed up on this topic. Okay, I would always love your comments below as the things that you heard me say today that you think I got right and then you think I got wrong. Because you know what? I could be 100% wrong on some of these things by your standards. But this list right here that I wrote out for you, there's my notes if you don't believe me. I sat there and wrote out notes for you on my iPad and the things I want to express to you. These are the things that I have learned over my 21 years in business. I went into business, I believe, in October of 1998. Did not have my mind or my heart set on building a brand. It's just kind of happened over time. And every week that I'm in business, I am more stoked and I'm more willing to burn those bridges out there. I am more willing to put myself out there like on camera and like this and pick things like what you see on my shirt and just put myself in people's face and say, hey, you know what? This is me. Like it or not, this is how I do my coaching. This is how I do my life coaching, my business coaching. This is how I do my consulting. And this is the way I work. And it's worked for me. It may not work for you. If you don't like it, by all means, give me a hug, shake my hand, let's move on. But if it does work for you, let's get your ass to work. And again, I'm not trying to self-promo right there, but that's just my mindset these days when it comes to business. You want this? You want to buy into my brand? You want to buy into ways to run your life? Then let's get to work. And I want you to do that also. Whether or not you're coaching or consulting, or whether or not you're like Jada and you appeal to strong women via the Salty Cowgirl. By the way, Jada, do me a favor, put your website in the comments, okay? I want people to go see your brand. I would love to do some marketing, not marketing for you, but I would love for people that watch the show later to basically go visit the Salty Cowgirl. And I'll go visit my website yourself. Obviously, I'm not a salty cowgirl without some hormones and some surgery out there, but I would still like to go see your brand. So if you're someone who's interested in the cowgirl way of life or how sassy women work, Jada is going, there we go. So go visit thesaltycowgirl.com from Jada Furman right here and go check out. And maybe come back in the comments and let us know what you think about her brand, because I'm sure Jada is open-minded and she would love some comments. But goodness gracious, even look at the domain name. The Salty Cowgirl. You know what you're getting once you click on that domain name. And kudos to Jada for participating today and for basically being willing to put that out there. because again, that's risky out there, and she's isolating people out there. Probably some people are going to go to her website, and right off the bat they're going to say, no, this isn't my thing. This isn't my thing. But some people are going to go to her website and say, oh shit, I've been looking for Jada all my life. Shut up and take my money right there. And those are the people that Jada is trying to appeal to. As again, everyone, if you're listening on iTunes, do me a favor and subscribe and leave us a rating over on iTunes or Spotify or Alexa, and go over and subscribe on YouTube or on the Facebook Live. And for those of you that are watching on Facebook Live, subscribe, share this, subscribe over on YouTube also, and also go subscribe to the podcast on iTunes via your phone on that little purple podcast icon. As always, everyone, thank you for watching. I am not really sure if I'm doing a broadcast tomorrow. I don't think so, because we're going out of town. And by out of town, I mean south 45 minutes. But if I don't, everyone have a great Thanksgiving. Work on building that kick-ass brand for 2020. I always welcome your questions, either publicly or private message me on Facebook, and I'll get back to you, and I love every single one of you. You guys have a great, great day.